All right, we're back with week 2 of the Other Side Sports Podcast, where average guys give above average takes on the exceptional sports that we love to watch. I'm Josh Powers, back with John Emmons here. Matthew will be joining us shortly. He's taking care of some personal stuff right now, but as soon as he's ready, he's going to be joining us. So we've got on tap today. We've got March Madness. Of course, it's March.
Crazy weekend.
Why wouldn't we talk about March Madness in the middle of March? We've got some more NFL free agency / draft talk. Some big moves made there, even after that crazy week that we had the week before. Some more stuff still moving, and some more stuff to come for sure. And then we've got we're gonna touch super quick, super brief on some division winners that we're gonna predict for MLB. And then we're going to go into details with our picks, and we're all going to give picks next week on our MLB edition show next week, right before opening day. Then we're going to close out with our special segment of What's on Your Mind, and that's going to be Matthew's topic if he makes it here. Hopefully he will. And then we'll close out with that. So first up on the agenda, we got March Madness. And the first topic, the first question is, Emmons, what was the biggest upset of the weekend? And the obvious answer here is the 16 over the 1 seed. So let's talk about that 16 over 1 seed, and then you give me another one that really surprised you and got your interest.
Yeah, so, I mean, the obvious answer is, like you said, is the 16 over the 1. 135-0 were the former 1 seeds. Other than that, I mean, they just couldn't miss a shot. I mean, it was literally nonstop, just threes. I mean, Virginia, it was one of the worst performances I've seen a 1 seed come around in. I mean, not only has a 1 seed never lost, so you think a 1 seed would lose by like some crazy buzzer beater. I mean, they literally dominated Virginia. I mean, it was over at halftime. I mean, you could just tell. So, I mean, it was insane. I mean, it's going to be one of those things that we go on and on about until it happens again. Unfortunately for Virginia, they'll be laughing.
So the 16 seed and the 1 seed, that's the first time it's happened in men's basketball. It happened women's basketball, 1998, Harvard versus Stanford.
Yeah, exactly. And so it was kind of a funny Twitter thing. The 16 seed and the men's going back and forth with the other one for the women's. Like I said, I mean, it was just a typical upset that you would see. A lot of threes being made, good defense being played. Virginia couldn't do anything. They couldn't solve anything that they were doing. So it was just a pure dominance. A lot of weird upsets that happened. I mean, you got Loyola of Chicago in the Sweet 16, which I had in my bracket, but little humble brag there.
Yeah, good on you, buddy. Way to go.
Other than that, my whole bracket's shot, but I mean, I did have that going for me at least. It's just been a weird tournament. I feel like the committee did a really bad job of seeding teams, and my example for that is Texas A&M and North Carolina. North Carolina lost 10 games this year. Yes, they've had some big wins, had a lot of bad losses. And Texas A&M, they've had a weird year too, but they're a lot better than the 7 seed. So I feel like the seeding gap there was really, really like kind of confusing for like your average fan, just looking, oh hey, it's a 7 versus 2, and the 7 seed is just dominating them. So it's. I mean, I don't know about you, what your big upset was. I'm really trying to wrap my head around. I mean, there's so many of them.
There was quite a few. The one to me, I have two also that really stood out to me. Number one, and this game busted my bracket wide open. I'm done after this. My money's gone, so I can forget about it. Nevada rallies from 22 points down to beat Cincinnati. The final score of that game ended up being 75-73. Cincinnati as a team averaged 57.9 points, like defensive points per game. So Nevada scored about 20 points more than Cincinnati averaged all season. Cincinnati just couldn't hit shots, and that's what it came down to basically for every single upset this over the weekend. Was no team could hit shots when they needed to. If you watched the UMBC game, like if you actually watched the game, there at the end when they started to pull, it was a close game until like 2 minutes left, and then UMBC was just draining three after three after three after three. They couldn't miss, and then And that's how that game went. Was Cincinnati got the huge lead, they were playing great, and then Nevada got on a roll, and Cincinnati just, I don't know if it got in their head that they couldn't beat this team, they couldn't stop them, they couldn't score. I don't know what happened, but they
Yeah, it was nuts. I was just watching a different game, and then I turn it on, and Nevada is, I mean, literally clawing back, and it was nuts. I mean, you know, like you said, they're down. I mean, big time, and everybody thinks it's like, okay. I mean, Cincinnati was in control of that game. I mean, for pretty much the whole game, and Nevada just hung around and hung around and hung around, and it was nuts. It was insane.
And see, I was super hyped about it because my bracket, I had them winning the whole thing. And my bracket was looking great. Like, Virginia got upset, Arizona got upset, and I was like, hell yeah, my bracket is looking amazing because I didn't pick those teams, and everybody was picking those teams. And then Cincinnati let me down.
We could talk about letdowns if you really want to.
Yeah, that's actually the next upset we're going to talk about, Evans. I'm sorry. We're going to talk about Michigan State University.
Yeah.
Getting beat down by Syracuse. So
yeah,
it wasn't too bad. 55-53.
It was a 2-point game, but it was
2-point game, but it was
that 2-point lead felt like a 10-point lead with 2 minutes left.
It was a lot uglier than you would think just looking at that score. Just because, again, like, Michigan State couldn't hit shots. They didn't drive to the paint. They had wide open threes all game long. Especially there at the end, like the last 3 minutes, they had open three after open three. And,
Matt McQuaid in the corner specifically missed it wide open. Yeah,
and they just couldn't hit shots. Like it blew my mind that a team of that caliber that played that well all season come into this tournament with 4 losses. 2 of those being to Michigan, who won the Big Ten tournament and they're still in the tournament. 1 to Ohio State, who's in the tournament, and I don't know who the 4th loss was to.
It was Duke early on in the year. It was a good game. Although it was kind of misleading. Duke lost their best player early on in the game. Then we went into Ohio State and got obliterated. I mean, it was bad. Just one of those games, kind of middle of the year. You know, team might have lose focus, whatever.
So that was your 4 losses, Duke.
Yeah,
Ohio State, and to Michigan
so
twice.
Going into what happened in the upset. As much as talented as this team was, I mean, you got 2 for sure lottery picks. Maybe Miles Bridges sneaks into the top 10 of the draft, and you have all these other players who are super talented. It's probably Izzo's most talented team, but at the same time, if you watch the team all year, me being a fan, of course I did. I watched every game besides maybe one. They never meshed on the court. Sometimes you hear almost too much talent might be a bad thing. You know, our 2 bigs never meshed well together. So there's something missing all year chemistry-wise that Tom Izzo never figured it out. And, you know, every time we had a chance to do something, you know, you lose to Ohio State, embarrassing fashion. And then you get your biggest rival coming to your court in the middle of the season, coming off of your worst loss of the year. You would think you'd regain focus. They run you off the court. I mean, it was a good game in the first half, but you could clearly tell who wanted it more. And it was Michigan, and they ran you off your own court. And then you lose to them again in the Big Ten tournament, same style fashion, good first half. They come out in the second half, Michigan just dominates you. And then you go into the tournament. Luckily got to go to the first game against Bucknell live. Started off good. Bucknell was just hitting shots. And then second half comes out, Miles Bridges turned it on. He dominated the second half. And then we fell asleep again, Bucknell. I mean, they were never going to come back. They made it a lot closer than it should have been, but... And then the Syracuse game was arguably the worst basketball game I've watched all season. Very boring. I don't remember the exact numbers. Michigan State shot like 17 for 62, if I remember correctly. That's 17 made shots all game. Syracuse didn't shoot much better, but they made a lot more free throws than we did, and that was the difference. You shoot 37, 35 three-pointers. You make... I don't know, I think 8 of them it was or something like that. It was just, we couldn't hit shots. The zone, any zone gives Tom Izzo fits. And so most people who watch basketball or understand basketball, you know, any zone, you work a guy out of the middle of right at the top of the key where the free throw line is, and you let him make his decisions. We had Jaren Jackson in there, who looked a little lost as a freshman, which is fine. Then we put a more experienced guy in who barely played this year in Ben Carter, made a lot of really good passes. But like you said, threes weren't falling. So there, and especially since he's not looking for a shot, having a guy in the high post who can pass it's not doing you much good because you're not making your threes. It was arguably one of the worst coached games I've seen from Tom Izzo. Why you don't try Miles Bridges, your best player in the middle of the zone, who can drive the basket, he can shoot. So you got a double threat right there. I mean, he can pass the ball too. So I mean, it was just a really puzzling coaching game plan by Tom Izzo. A lot of Michigan State fans calling for his job, which is absolutely ridiculous. Yes, it's his biggest failure as a coach here, but I mean, we all know that Tom Izzo's not going anywhere.
Yeah, I did hear that a lot of people were saying that Tom Izzo needs to be fired. I don't follow college basketball, but when it comes to college basketball, there are 3 coaches that I know. Coach K, the Duke coach, I honestly can't remember his name. That looks bad for me. I thought Coach K was Calipari.
Nope, that's Calipari with a C.
Oh, okay. So I know Coach K, I know Coach Calipari, and I know Tom Izzo, and that's it. Yeah. So, so the fact that Tom Izzo would be fired for taking teams consistently to the NCAA tournament, having good performances. Matthew has joined us. Welcome to the show, Matthew. So the fact that Tom Izzo's name is being thrown around to be replaced is outright ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean it's all fan board stuff. I mean it's just it's obviously ridiculous. Fans in the heat of the moment. I mean I'm not gonna lie. At the end of the game, I was livid. I was very angry. I mean just watching that game, you miss your last 13 shots. I mean it's this being that talented. There's no excuse for it. So I mean there's just obviously nothing you can do now. Probably my biggest disappointment as a Michigan State fan. Before that, it was the losing to the 15 seed a couple years ago we discussed last show. And, I mean, given I knew the Syracuse zone would give us some fits. The zone always does for us. But it's not like they're a Duke zone. I mean, yes, Syracuse has a great zone and they run it great. They're not a good basketball team. They play 6 guys all game. There's Howard, who fouled out, literally played... He missed like 2 minutes in like the last 5 games or something like that. So that's insane. They should have been tired. You should have ran him off the court in the second half. Izzo should have made adjustments. He didn't. You didn't put Miles in the middle of the zone once. And it cost us. I mean, it made Boeheim outcoached Izzo big time. I mean, there's no doubt about it.
And that happens. Matthew, are you with us? Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. I muted myself so you didn't hear the burping and such.
Okay. All right. So we're still on our first topic. So... to you, what was your most surprise upset other than that 16 and 1 seed, that 16 seed, the 1 seed? What game did it for you?
Clearly, Loyola College, out of Chicago. Moving on, that's huge. I mean, when you got a team like that, I know they're in the Midwest, Mid Valley, right? They're in the Valley Conference.
Yeah, I think so.
Total shock, but it's not one that you normally hear from. So I think when you have a team like that, it's a big shocker that they could pull off 2 in a row. Because clearly, UMBC, they weren't able to pull off the upset on Kansas State. So it wasn't that, that would have been huge. I think if they would have been able to pull that Kansas State one off, it would have been really huge. But yeah, I mean, there was just so many to choose from. I think my most saddest moment was us not pulling off the upset, Florida.
That was a good game.
It was a good game.
And we had 2 shots at the end. I mean, we had our 2 best 3-point shooters taking a shot. They were open and to tie it, and they just couldn't hit it. And I think my biggest, something that people aren't talking about, I think this Florida team is very similar to that Virginia team.
Yeah.
And in that we play so much defense, but we can't score. And, it really showed at the end of that game. We went in a slump. I mean, we were up with about 7 minutes to go. We were up double digits and just couldn't score. And that's been Mike White's offense, the past couple of years since he got. I love the guy. I don't have anything against him. He just got to get a consistent shooter.
So I think that's the thing that I noticed watching college basketball over the course of the weekend was I noticed teams that had the big guys were consistently in the hunt. Let's say they were close. They were were closer than teams that only had little guys who were trying to shoot the three. So teams with the bigger guys inside that could take advantage of like height advantage. DeAndre Ayton, like Arizona was pretty much in that game. The Texas, I don't remember the guy's name, but the Texas center, the guy's like close to 7 foot. Yeah, like they were in the game. They lost, but they were in the game the whole time because they had like a reliable offensive piece that they could go to in the post.
Yeah, it was. That's another thing about this tournament. A lot of like the high seeds, North Carolina, Michigan State, Arizona couldn't shoot a lot. Like people aren't hitting threes right now in this tournament. And so you look at a team like Texas A&M that I brought up earlier, who I think is much better than a 7th seed. They have great big men, and they just ate North Carolina alive.
And they're young.
That's another thing. I mean, the Michigan State game, our shooters. I mean, we have 2 good 3-point shooters, but we don't have a knockdown guy. Matt McQuaid, since his freshman year, I remember the first game. His second game of his career, we came out against Kansas, and this was the year we lost Middle Tennessee State. You start the year thinking we were going to be horrible. We almost end up being a 1 seed, and then we lose to a 15 seed. So it was an up and down year. The second game of the year against Kansas, Matt McQuaid came out off the bench as a freshman and just knocked down like 3 threes in a row. And everyone was like, "Oh my God, we finally got a consistent shooter." And finally being able to go see him live. Watching him shoot and like the warm-ups and stuff. I mean, dude can shoot. I mean, he hits like 15 to 20 threes in a row in the shoot-around, but he gets in the game and he doesn't know what shooting is. He hesitates. And so it killed us against Syracuse. I mean, Josh Langford, who killed against Bucknell, couldn't shoot. He missed mid-range shots, wide open. It's been a weird tournament. A lot of 3-point shooting teams are not your recipe for success this year, and which it normally is.
Actually,
and you missed my humble brag earlier, Matthew. I do have Loyola of Chicago in the Sweet 16 on my bracket. The only good thing about my bracket.
I saw you say that the other day, and I was my bracket's shot. I'm not even looking at it.
Yeah, mine's bad. So, but
all right,
I kind of have a theory, John. With the push toward like one and dones with all these bigger schools the past several years, have you noticed? Like I have that there's been more upsets lately because of that. They're young, so when they get there, like Trae Young, he couldn't do anything.
Yeah,
and that's what we're built on. And so I think it's going to be interesting if the NBA pushes that back and actually allows there's makes that rule where it's not the one and done anymore. I'd almost be curious to see if we get less of these big time upsets because now you get more experienced teams.
Right. You know? So the interesting thing about this one and done thing over the last few years is. So you look at who won last year, North Carolina, right? Very experienced team. The one and done thing is great for talent, regular season, a lot of the times they dominate. But then you go up against a team like a North Carolina who's always experienced. They always have that one guy who's a senior or a junior who's a leader, and they lose. I mean, last year's championship was Gonzaga and North Carolina, 2 experienced teams. The year before that, you had Villanova and North Carolina, 2 experienced teams. I mean, you're not seeing... I mean, the only Kentucky team was that Anthony Davis team, and that team was ridiculously talented. Even the North Carolina team, the most talented team I've ever seen besides that Kentucky team, was the 2009 championship game in Detroit at Ford Field, which was Michigan State versus North Carolina. North Carolina had 6 first-round picks, and they absolutely ran us off the court, but they weren't all freshmen. So I think the one-and-done thing is good. Well, it's not good, but I think it's, like you said, I also think these one-and-done kids like Trae Young and Brandon McCoy, who plays for UNLV, they're going to these random schools. So I think the talent is spreading out more and more. So I think that's another reason why you're getting upsets too, is because all these big-time recruits are not generally just going to these blue blood programs anymore, which is also interesting to me.
Well, Trae Young, I believe, is from Oklahoma, so he went to Oklahoma so he could stay home. So.
You 5 years ago or so, all these one and dones are going to Kentucky. They're going to all these other schools. I mean, and now you get a kid who wants to stay home and win for his team, which is great. It's just like I said, you got all this talent going spread out around the country instead of being into 1 or 2 schools.
All right. Well, I'm gonna give you guys a gift. I'm gonna let you pick your new Final Four and your new national champion. Now that we're down to the Sweet 16. So I'll give Matthew a minute to pull up the bracket if he doesn't have it, and I'll go first, picking my new Final Four. I'm gonna take take Nevada out of the South.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm gonna stick with Villanova out of the East, and I'm gonna stick with Gonzaga out of the West. I did have Villanova and Gonzaga originally, so I will stick with those two. But I'm gonna go with Nevada out of the South. That's the South, right? Nevada out of the South now that Cincinnati's out, and I'm gonna take Kansas out of the Midwest. So my new Final Four is gonna be Kansas, Gonzaga, Nevada, and Villanova. So
Okay.
so what's your new Final Four, Emmons? I'm letting you pick a new one here. We're gonna forget that you did a bracket and picked some of those teams.
So one of my brackets, I do have 3 of my teams still alive. So
Okay.
I think or no, I don't. I have 2 because I had Xavier in it, I think. But oh god, what do you call it? The South is just a mess.
The South is the most interesting for sure, because you're looking at
this is
your lowest seed being a 5 seed in the South bracket.
Well, the lowest seed on the whole left side of the bracket is Michigan as a 3, which is nuts. So I'm gonna go with the non-hot take here selection. I'm gonna try to get these right. So, I'm gonna go. I think Kentucky. I think if Kentucky doesn't make the Final Four, it's a huge failure on their part.
See, I was gonna pick Kentucky, but this tournament has been so crazy.
Right, it's crazy. You don't know what's gonna happen.
It's so crazy, and I feel like this tournament's still got more for us. So,
Yeah.
So I'm
also-
gonna pick
I also feel
Nevada
like-
to take
I feel
it.
like I feel like March Madness. It all generally happens in the first weekend. I feel like teams really buckle in the second weekend. You get almost a week off. I did say in the first show that I thought Kentucky could be an interesting team to watch, and I think it's more interesting now that they are the best team in that region left. So I'm gonna go with Kentucky in the South. But then I think they're gonna be playing. I hate this, pains me to say this. I think Michigan's gonna come out of that region just because whenever I want them to lose, they never do. They do have to play better though on the offensive side of the ball. Their defense is the real deal. Mo Wagner's got to get going big time. For them to go, because Gonzaga is not a team that's going to be an easy win. I mean, Texas A&M, I think, we're going to go hot take here. We're going to switch this up. I think Texas A&M is going to get to the Final Four. Now that I think about it, I think Michigan does not match up well at all against Texas A&M. They're bigs. I just think they're going to, I mean, Michigan's best big man is Mo Wagner, who's really a power forward. He's not even a center. So as good as he is, he's going to have trouble stopping any of the bigs on Texas A&M. Going to the Midwest, I think. God, this is tough. I don't trust them or their coach at all in the tournament, but I'm gonna go with Kansas. And then I'm gonna go Villanova still. I think that region's Villanova's to lose. Purdue's without Haas. West Virginia's gonna be an interesting game, but I don't think they give Villanova enough. I think Villanova's really was the best team in the country, even though Virginia had that title for a while. I think Villanova's a really good team. So, then your championship game, I'm gonna have Kansas versus Kentucky, and I think Kansas is gonna win it.
Okay. All right, Matthew.
I really don't like you now, John.
Did I steal your thunder, buddy?
Yeah, you did actually.
It's
Okay.
Christmas.
Okay.
It's Christmas in March, Matthew.
And
I'm
it's
letting
funny
you
because
reset
I
your
said
bracket.
it's funny because I was gonna avoid the hot takes, and then when I was talking about Michigan and how they gotta get going, and I was like, wait a minute, they gotta get through Texas A&M first.
Texas
Yeah, I
A&M's.
really-
Oh yeah, never mind. I see.
Shout
then-
out to Lewis, by the way.
The A&M's, I really liked what I saw when they were playing us. I mean, they really just, you couldn't stop them. I mean, they were athletic. They could shoot. They could play defense.
Whoa, Matthew, you're talking about Texas Tech. Emmons is talking about Texas A&M.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. Texas Tech. So,
You know,
Emmons is talking about Texas A&M, who just beat North Carolina
Yeah.
to advance to the Sweet 16.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. But yeah, Texas Tech.
okay.
You didn't steal my thunder. Thank you. Thank you for that. But yeah, I think, when I look at them, I really liked what I saw them do against us. And yeah, I don't know. There's something about them. Let me look. I lost myself now. Yeah. So I think that they're going to pull off the upset. And then they're going to go down and play Duke. I think Duke's going to come out of there. I don't trust Kansas.
So
I
you
know
think
but I also-
Texas Tech is going to beat Purdue and then beat the winner of Villanova West Virginia and make it to the Final Four?
I liked that team.
I do think Texas Tech beats Purdue. I don't think there's anything crazy about that.
I don't know. I feel like they're just going to they're that team. I felt like when I was watching them, I just liked what they were doing. Even though I messed up the name, I'm tired. It's kind of
All good.
baby duty. I do think Duke is going to come out of that region down though, because I don't trust Kansas. And you know what? I'll go off the limb. I'll pick Gonzaga.
Okay, that's a good pick. I
Just
think
because I
Gonzaga.
don't trust Michigan either. I mean, they were
Yeah.
what? I mean, Michigan got a. You giving us
Yeah,
a
they-
gift. I think Michigan was given a gift. I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
that was a prayer. I mean, I don't trust that coaching staff there. I've never have. So there you go.
yeah, I don't know. I love John Beeline as much as I hate Michigan. He almost reminds me of like the Mark D'Antonio figure as in Michigan State's football head coach. Like everybody hates Jim Harbaugh. I mean, most people love Tom Izzo, but he's that like high profile coach. And then you got this other guy who's like kind of under the shadow of the head coach of their general sport, and that's John Beeline to me. My biggest thing with Michigan is that they've been struggling a lot offensively in this tournament. And I mean, if you guys watched, I don't know if you guys watched the first round game, it was abysmal. It was actually more boring than the Syracuse Michigan State game, which is hard to beat. And then they got a gift against Houston. Houston missed free throws down the stretch. Michigan should not have been in that game. They were missing layups, and Houston just couldn't make free throws. And it was a hell of a shot. I mean, good for the kid, but it was definitely a gift. I think Texas Tech is an interesting team. They could definitely get to the Final Four. I mean, Purdue losing Haas is huge. It's another team I don't really trust in March. I mean, they've been to 2 Final Fours since the school's been around. I think they've been to like 5 Elite Eights in school history as well. Some 5 or 6, 7, somewhere in that range. It's not a lot. So I think, and then like you said about Kansas, I don't trust Kansas. I don't trust Duke as of late, the last couple of years. Ever since they've gone to the one and done route, to be honest with you. I just think experience comes into play. Although Kansas isn't, I mean, they're not the most experienced team either. But
he's a junior.
Yeah, I think he's a senior actually.
So let me ask you guys this question, and then let's move on to our next topic. I really enjoyed watching Rob Gray, the point guard.
Really fun to watch.
I really enjoyed watching him. Is he an NBA type talent? Is he going to be drafted?
He actually reminded me a lot of guard Michigan State had a few years ago, Travis Trice. It's just a little guy who just comes out here and just starts balling. I don't know if you remember that tournament run, Matthew. Michigan State having their like a 7 seed, made it to the Final Four, and Travis Trice was just out here just throwing up threes, and they were just dropping. So no, I think he just has a cool story. He came out for a couple games. He came out and balled out. That game against San Diego State was my most entertaining game I've watched so far. I mean, just the back and forth in the last couple minutes of that game was nuts, and he just balled out.
Like, remember when George Mason made that run until Florida ended it?
Yeah.
I think there was one of their guard got drafted, and then he just.
Yeah. So I mean, it's just
because they get hot, like you said, they get hot. This is their moment, and they catch fire, and then there wasn't really that talent level there. They just had some that. And
I think the big thing with going from the college game in basketball to the NBA game is you're almost gifted with a certain amount of athleticism. I mean, you are. And so I think you can be a really good college basketball player, but the NBA is where the athleticism really comes into play. I mean, because you can be this little guy who just dribbles up and down the court and shoots threes, which is what everybody thought Stephen Curry was, but he really evolved his game. I mean, he's the best at what he does. So it's like, you see all these guys comparing people to him, but it's just he's special at what he does. Rob Gray's a great college basketball player, but I don't see much of an NBA future for him. He's not that fast. I don't think he'd be able to guard in the NBA level.
That's disappointing to hear because he was very fun to watch. He was very fun to watch, very interesting. So, what you got, Matthew?
In Florida, though, Torian Green and Corey Brewer never made it because they had a talent for college, but they had one skill and they weren't the best at it. Like Corey Brewer played defense and shot threes, but it wasn't enough. Torian Green played defense. He didn't even. I think he got drafted late second and ended up playing in Europe, and then he was done. So, some players are just like football. They're great college players, and then don't do anything in the.
Real quick before we move on, another perfect example of the athleticism point I made is Denzel Valentine. he's having an okay career with the Bulls, but he's not. I mean, he was amazing at Michigan State. He was an all-around player, but he always lacked athleticism. So I mean, it comes into play in the NBA. Unfortunately.
Once you get up there with the LeBron James and Kevin Durant of the world, your talent goes away. All right, next topic on our agenda. We're going to talk NFL free agency, NFL trades,
Shout out to Lewis again.
NFL drafts. Shouting out Lewis again. So I believe it was I think it was Friday night this broke. The Jets have traded the number 6 pick, both their second round picks this year and their second round pick next year to move up 3 spots with the Indianapolis Colts at number 3. So Emmons, give me one winner, give me one loser of this trade.
The Jets.
The Jets are the loser. Okay. Defend your statement.
I mean, so if I remember correctly, I was kind of distracted there for a second. My apologies, but they traded 2 second-round picks, current, and then 1 future, and then they gave the Colts the sixth pick in the draft.
Correct.
I don't really see any other answer to this. I mean, I guess if the Jets get their guy and it works out, I mean, great. But you're giving up 2 second-round picks for a team like the Jets, who's not like they're one piece away or anything from being a good football team, in my opinion.
So let me ask you this question. Knowing what Matthew Stafford has turned into, would you trade a top 6 pick and 3 second-round picks for Matthew Stafford?
If I'm like a team like the Jets?
No, if you're the Lions, like
okay,
however many years ago they drafted him, would you trade that to make sure that you got Matthew Stafford, knowing what he's become, knowing he's become the face of your franchise, he's a top 10 quarterback, but he has not won a playoff game? Would you trade that?
You do trade that, but at the same time, I mean, it's obvious the Lions would have been a loser in that trade because he's not. I mean, there's only so much you can do. How talented you are.
So my only thing is, and this is good because we said we were going to get a little more argumentative. A quarterback can be in your system if they're successful for 20 years. Look at Tom Brady. Look at what Aaron Rodgers is going to do. What Drew Brees is going to do. Your 4 second-round picks. They're going to give you 12 years at best. And that's if you hit on all 4 of them. So, I won't say that the Jets won with this trade because we won't know that until 8 years from now when we look back on this.
Sure.
But I don't think that they lost. If they can get their guy, I don't think they're losers in this trade.
That's the thing though. It's like how often when a team gives up a ransom for a trade, how often do they really win? I mean, you very rarely see a team win off of this. And I mean, from what I can remember, I mean, it's just like, if they do hit, sure.
Well, technically, the Rams and the Eagles are winning right now with their hauls.
But also, when you bring up Matthew Stafford, no quarterback in this draft, it has as much as at first they did. But I mean, there's a lot of good guys out there, but no one's talking about this guy coming in being the next big thing. I mean, as we talked about last week on the podcast, I mean, the beginning of college football, we're like, all right, this is going to be the best quarterback class we've seen in a long time. And it's just not that.
Well, and see, we're still saying that. We're still saying this is the best quarterback class we've seen in a long time.
A long time, sure.
But what we're saying now is honestly, I'm just going to be honest. We're terrified that one of these 4 guys is going to be excellent and 3 of them are going to be terrible. And you don't know which one it's going to be. That's what it comes down to.
My personal opinion, I think Rosen's going to be great.
I'm going to say what Josh wouldn't say. I'm going to say that the Jets are the winners. Because here's why. I don't consider this the same ransom that the Redskins gave up. Because it's seconds. If I remember correctly, Washington gave up a future first too, didn't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think
they didn't give up a future first. They gave up a future second.
That's true. It's a good point.
If you look at it, if you really look at this, the Jets have seen for a decade now, they've had this great defense. It did nothing because they didn't have a quarterback. At the end of the day, if you don't have a quarterback, you are nothing. And if you get up there and you give yourself a chance to get the guy you think is the best of those 4, because I think Josh is right. I think at the end of the day, one of these 4 is going to be good.
Yep.
And then the other 3, just percentage-wise, I'm a numbers guy, will probably not be very good. So I think you give yourself that chance to go up there and get it instead of the Bills, your division rival. So I think they're the winners.
Okay. I'm going to say with the winners and losers of this. What was your winner, Emmons? I'm sorry. I jumped in there on your loser. Who's your winner?
I thought the Colts were the winner. Getting some more picks. I mean, with a team like that, they don't need a quarterback. So I guess depending on Andrew Luck's health, obviously, but I guess I shouldn't, because you guys have good points. I mean, the Jets, if they do get their guy, it works out for the best. But and like you said, you play with the numbers, you play the numbers game. So do I. Generally, it doesn't work out that way. But the Colts, I mean, they got a few extra picks. You move down 3 spots, get a couple extra picks for what they need. I mean, they definitely need some more picks and more players. So I feel like for the Colts, definitely won the trade.
I can agree that the Colts are winners in this. And we could look back on this 4 years from now, and you could be 100% right. Jets could be losers. But like I said, we won't really know. So I'm not ready to peg them as losers yet.
The Colts needed Chubb, and I don't think they're going to get Chubb from this.
See, I think they'll get Chubb at 6. I don't think any of those top 5 teams are going to take Chubb.
I think Chubb will be there at 6. That's why I think the Colts were so comfortable with moving down too.
And we're gonna get into that in a little bit on this topic, so we'll save that conversation. I'm gonna go with my winner with this trade. I'm gonna say it's the Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns, man, they're about to trade. I'm gonna assume they're gonna take. I'm gonna assume they're gonna take a quarterback at number 1, and we'll get into which quarterback a little later. And then I think, honestly, draft day comes around. I think they're going to trade that number 4 pick to Buffalo. And Buffalo's going to jump up, and they have to. They risked it all. They risked it all on getting a quarterback. They waited. They didn't get Bridgewater. They didn't get Cousins. They didn't get Keenum. They settled for A.J. McCarron. They risked it all on a quarterback, and then now they're hung high and dry because their division rival Jets went ahead and pulled the trigger a month early and went up to secure themselves a quarterback. So I think my winners are going to be Cleveland, because Cleveland is going to get a haul and a half compared to what the Colts even just got for the number 3 pick.
Especially on draft day. Yeah.
Right, exactly. And that's when I think this trade is going to happen. I think this trade is going to happen on draft day when Cleveland hits, especially if New York takes Saquon Barkley. If New York takes Saquon Barkley and that quarterback, there's still the 3 of those 4 quarterbacks up there, the Bills are definitely coming for number 4. So I feel like the Browns are winning right now in that trade. And then my losers, I think my losers with this trade, obviously the Bills, but I think a bigger loser, I'm going to say the Arizona Cardinals. I think they were going to try to come up and jump somebody and try to get a quarterback to put behind Bradford. I don't think Bradford is going to stay healthy for a full year behind that offensive line. He hasn't done it, and I don't think he's going to do it again. So they would have liked to have had somebody to sit behind Bradford for 6 or 7 weeks, and then if Bradford gets injured or they start 1-6, now they can throw this guy in and say, here, go get some experience, and you're going to be our guy of the future. But now with the Jets moving up and the Bills having more capital than the Cardinals, I don't think it's plausible the Cardinals can move up and take their quarterback now. So now they're going to be sitting middle of the pack. Now they might have to spend their middle of the pack pick on Lamar Jackson or Mason Rudolph. So it's going to be interesting.
I have an interesting loser.
All right.
Actually.
I love interesting stuff.
The loser is the Patriots.
Okay. I didn't see that. Number 31.
Because you know what? If they would have kept Garoppolo and the team started looking at these quarterbacks and saying, oh, maybe we don't like them as much, I think Bill would have gotten a lot more than that 2nd round pick.
For sure.
Because
I can agree with that.
When he traded them, everybody was thinking, oh, we're going to have this great class and everything like
right.
that. And then we got closer, and then now everybody's saying, oh, it's not as great. I think they may have gotten a lot more. So, at the end of the day, it might be the losers, the Patriots, which kills me. It kills me. I mean,
well,
yeah.
At least your team didn't cut your only tight end to free up cap space and then do nothing with the money.
Hey, well, you don't know what they're gonna do with that money, Emmons. They're still the jury's still out on that. So
really made a huge splash. Got LeGarrette Blount. So here we come, Super Bowl.
so who's your winner, Matthew? You gave us a loser. Who's your winner?
No, I said I think the Jets are the winner.
Okay.
Yeah, he did say that.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
So now we're gonna move into this next part, and I kind of addressed it a little bit, but let's assume that the Bills can't trade up to number 4 with Cleveland, and Cleveland decides that Saquon Barkley is their guy at number 4, and that's who they're taking, and they're not trading that pick. What do the Bills do with pick 12 and pick 22? What do they do? Matthew, let me get your take. We'll let you go first on this one.
I think they go out there. I think they try to get some offensive line later in the first because their offensive line is not. I mean, it's getting older. And then I think they also get a defensive piece of some sort. I think they really take the best available offensive lineman, and then they try to get a linebacker. I mean, they don't have any linebackers. When we played them, their linebackers don't scare me. They've been working on their secondary a lot. They got Micah Hyde back there, Tre'Davious White, so I don't think they work on their secondary, but I think they take a linebacker. Best available linebacker, best available lineman.
Okay. Emmons, what do they do?
I can't say it any. I was literally thinking the same thing. I mean, when you think of the Buffalo Bills, I mean, there's not a linebacker on that team that scares me at all. I mean, you had the point. There's no quarterback out there. I mean, you ride with AJ McCarron. I mean, they made the playoffs last year with Tyrod Taylor, who's a solid guy. He's not going to turn the ball over. I think AJ McCarron can do almost the same job as Tyrod. So, I really think they go linebacker and lineman, whichever the best available is at whichever point at whatever pick it is.
Okay, so I think both you guys are wrong, to be honest. I think we saw what happened with. So last year it was who were the quarterbacks last year? Who was the top guy? Not Deshaun Watson and Pat Mahomes. Who was the number 1 quarterback that was drafted last year? Besides Watson and Mahomes, there was one more that was taken, wasn't there, above them?
Why am I drawing a blank here?
I could have swore there was.
Let
me take a look. 2017.
But yeah, back to I don't know.
You go ahead. Go ahead. Give me your thoughts while I look this up. Mitchell Trubisky. It was Mitchell Trubisky.
Oh yeah, I forgot that ridiculous trade with the Bears traded up for Mitchell. Yeah.
So Mitchell Trubisky. So,
that was a tough one to forget. I don't know how I drew a blank on that.
It was. I don't know how I forgot it either. But so what? Here's what happened last year was Mitchell Trubisky is the number 1 quarterback. He's going in the top 5, and he did. Deshaun Watson, not a first-round worthy quarterback. Pat Mahomes, not a first-round worthy quarterback. That's not happening. Texans trade up to take Pat Mahomes, or to take Deshaun Watson. Chiefs trade up to take Pat Mahomes. So I think what's going to happen with Buffalo is if they can't trade up to number 4 and get their quarterback there, they're taking Lamar Jackson at 12. It's happening. It's happening. They can't. They don't believe in AJ McCarron. I think that's pretty obvious.
Well, yeah,
so
I don't think.
I think that's pretty obvious. So I think at 12 they're taking. I think they're taking Lamar Jackson if they can't move up. 22, I think they're taking wide receiver. Zay Jones, trash. He did not have a good rookie season. Kelvin Benjamin, injury plagued, kind of getting up there in age a little bit. I think they go all offense. They just re-signed all their D-line during free agency, so I think they're gonna get Lamar Jackson, another rookie, like another top talent first round rookie that he can develop with over these next 5 years, and they're gonna let the two of them roll it, and they're gonna let him run that offense.
That's the funny thing about the Bills, though. Like, me and Matthew were just talking about their defense, and then you think about their offense. It's like they just literally don't have but they made the playoffs. I mean, they were a solid team, nothing special. But that's where I guess I can kind of side with Josh on this. Is that I guess you can say they were missing a big time difference maker besides Shady McCoy.
Yeah, and then that's my next point.
If you get Lamar Jackson in there, and it's a risky pick, but I mean, if it works out, I mean, as we said earlier about the Jets trade, if it works out, I mean, that could be dangerous. And then you take a receiver, you give him a weapon to throw to, and then you kind of just focus on defense the rest of the draft.
Well, and see, I'm going to say you stay away from the defense. So, McCoy is turning 31. Darius Geis, Nick Chubb, Sony Michel. Go get a rookie running back. Go get one.
Josh, I don't have a problem with a lot. I actually think it's brilliant, and I think you're probably right at 12. They're going to reach on a quarterback, right? Because they have to.
Right.
They take all the quarterbacks. They're going to have a run on quarterbacks. I don't think they take Lamar because Lamar is a more athletic Tyrod Taylor.
So what's going to happen? So who do they take at 12 if they don't take Lamar? Are they going to take Mason Rudolph?
I don't think they take Lamar. I think Lamar is way too similar to Tyrod, and I don't think that they take the same player that's just younger and a little faster. I just don't see it.
Maybe not. Well, see, I don't know that necessarily they had issues with Tyrod's play. I think it was more Tyrod's personality. So if Lamar can kind of show them that he was more of a leader than Tyrod was, they might fall more in love with him.
He couldn't make throws. That's why their offense struggled, is he couldn't make throws. They had to literally run the ball so much because he couldn't make the throws.
But they made the playoffs.
Yeah, but
they had a strong defense, and they ran the ball. That's what they did, and that's what the Jets have been doing, and that's that division. That division is play defense, run the ball, and just pray you get in.
See, my thing is, I like Tyrod. He doesn't make the throws. He's not a deep ball guy. He doesn't turn the ball over.
No, he doesn't.
Like, he doesn't. And that's, like, to me, turnovers are what kill you. And Cleveland showed that this year. Cleveland went 0-16. If Deshaun Kaiser throws 6 less interceptions, that team's a 6-win team. I'm sorry to tell you. That's a 6-win team.
Or doesn't go for a QB sneak on the 4-yard line before halftime against the Lions, because they should beat us.
See, I didn't see that play. But
I agree. I actually like Tyrod, too. I'm saying I don't think the Bills take the same guy. I think that Lamar is the same guy, except I think he's a little younger, and so he's going to make those mistakes.
That's a really tough question, though, on who they would take, though, because, I mean, we haven't even, like, decided as a whole on who's going to be gone by then. So, right. I mean, it really all depends on, like, who's available there. Like, I mean, what if a guy that's better than Lamar falls? I mean, we don't know.
If at some point... So, I'm operating on the basis that Rosen,
like, who
Allen...
in your mind is gone?
All of them. Rosen, Allen, Darnold, Mayfield. All 4 of them gone.
Okay.
So that's my assumption, is that all 4 of those guys are gone. If any one of those 4 guys are there at number 12 and the Bills get to pick, Roger Goodell's not going to leave the podium from the 11th pick. He's just going to go ahead and announce it, and he's not even going to get the card. He already knows who they're taking.
Right.
So that's why I say if at 12 all 4 of those guys are gone, they've bet on a young quarterback coming in. They're going they're going for Lamar.
I do agree. I do think it's Lamar Jackson over a guy like Mason Rudolph if they do have to reach up at 12. But I do agree with Matthew in the stand. I do think Lamar has a higher ceiling than Tyrod ever had. Because he's got an arm. I mean, he's more athletic than Tyrod. I mean, he's shown some flashes in college. Lamar's a really interesting case. He could be either really, really good, or he's just gonna be, just gonna be bad. So I mean, it's gonna be interesting to see what they do there.
Okay, so all the draft talk. Emmons, mock me your top 5. Your top 5 picks. Mock them for me.
Okay.
And we're not gonna stick with the rule where you can't predict trades. So you feel free to predict any trades that you think are coming. Lay the details out for us. You can have
fun with this then.
Yeah, you can have fun with it. You can have any trade you think are actually that you feel are plausible. Just give me your mock top 5.
See, I went to the point of where I thought we couldn't mock trades. So we're gonna have some fun with this then.
If you want to, we can come back to you if you want to think about it.
Yeah, go ahead, because I want to think about this for a second. Because I already decided what my top 5 was. I can make a trade. I'm gonna do something.
Okay. So you go, John.
Okay, so I'll go ahead. So number 1, I'm gonna say the Cleveland Browns take Sam Darnold. He's just got, from all the Italian talent evaluators are saying, he's the guy with the highest ceiling. So I feel like they're going to go for the guy with the highest ceiling and the highest return on investment. The Giants at number 2, I think the Giants are going to take Josh Rosen. I think they realize that they... I think
Who's your number 1 pick? I'm sorry.
Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold
Okay.
is number 1 pick. I'm gonna say the Giants take Josh Rosen. I don't think they don't want to be in this situation again. They don't want to be in this top 3 picking a quarterback situation. They want to get a guy that they believe in and put him behind their franchise guy in Eli that they've had, and hope that they can carry on that tradition, Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers style. Number 3 with the Jets, I'm going to say the Jets take Saquon Barkley instead of a quarterback.
Okay.
They just signed Teddy Bridgewater. Teddy Bridgewater's 25. They got Josh McCown. Obviously, he's close to the end of his career. The Jets can ride on Teddy Bridgewater having a good year. If Teddy Bridgewater has a good year and turns out to be an above average quarterback even, the Jets look really bad then taking a quarterback at number 3 and giving up all those picks. Because then you've got a perennial bench warmer that was a 3rd overall pick and Teddy Bridgewater, who's now your franchise quarterback. So I'm going to mock them taking Saquon Barkley number 3. Number 4. Who's number 4? Cleveland. Cleveland has number 4. This is an interesting one, and I just thought of this. And so I'm going to roll with it, even though I don't think it's very realistic. But I'm going to roll with it anyway. The Pittsburgh Steelers.
Wow.
The Pittsburgh Steelers trade their rights to their first
Individual?
round pick.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Their first round pick and their rights to Le'Veon Bell for the 4th overall pick, and they take Josh Allen. Roethlisberger's already talked. They don't want to pay Le'Veon. They've already made that clear. The Steelers have already made it clear they don't want to pay Le'Veon. So Ben is getting close to retirement. He's already hinted at it for numerous years. And you just locked Antonio Brown down for 4 seasons, at least. Why would you not go get a quarterback at this point to be the heir apparent? I say they trade to number 4, do whatever it takes, and go get Josh Allen. And then I got Denver number 5. I'm going to say Denver sticks with the quarterback mold, and they take Baker Mayfield to round out that top 5 because they're not going to give Case Keenum a long-term contract, and he's yet to be proven.
Okay, you just put my trade to shame, so yours was definitely the hot takes of hot takes out there. So I think number 1, I think I'm gonna go different here. I mean, not different. I think Browns are gonna go Josh Rosen. Number 2 is where my trade happens. I think the Bills are going to trade to number 2 with the Giants because I know you said the Giants seem pretty confident in Eli Manning for whatever reason. So if they trade down, they get 12, 22, and whatever other picks. And then I think the Bills are going to not necessarily reach on a guy, but kind of take a guy that everybody's talking about in Josh Allen. So then number 3, I think the Jets then take a guy who no one would thought would be at number 3 in Sam Darnold. So I have 3 quarterbacks going top 3. And then I don't think Cleveland trades their pick to the Steelers, and I think it's absolutely insane how Saquon Barkley's still there at 4. Cleveland Browns can't pass that up. They go with Saquon Barkley at 4. I'm going to go with more of a boring pick at 5. You know what? It's tough because I do think there's no way the Broncos stick with Case Keenum, right? I mean...
Well, that remains to be seen. John Elway does like the seasoned quarterback, but...
So I'm going to decide this on the fly, because there's 3 choices, in my opinion, that the Broncos can't really go wrong with. One's safe and not sexy at all. The Baker Mayfield pick's obviously a sexy one. Then another one that would be an interesting one. Chubb's right there. You got Von Miller. Your defense is getting a little old. You can get another edge rusher. You get a guy like Bradley Chubb there. And then my safe guy is Quentin Nelson. I mean, Denver's O-line's not good. I mean, there's no secret about that. You don't have a quarterback who's going to go out. Case Keenum's, a little kind of mobile, but I mean, he's not a guy who's going to be able to escape all these sacks. He's not Russell Wilson. So you get a guy like Quentin Nelson. I mean, it's not going to make your O-line that. I mean, but he's obviously the best O-lineman out there. So I do think at the end of the day they go Baker Mayfield, but in my opinion, I would go Quentin Nelson if I was the Broncos.
Okay, Matthew, give me your top 5.
So you're going that they're taking Nelson.
5 Denver, yeah, they're gonna take Nelson.
Okay.
Well, they're not. They're gonna take Mayfield, but I think they should take Nelson. Yeah.
No, perfect. Good. We don't agree. Hold on one second. So I think that the Browns take Rosen one first overall. I think that they don't take Darnold. I don't think they like him. I think the Giants take Barkley because they need to play. They need a running back to take that pressure off the offense, and I think they're going to see what Webb can do if they can develop him some more. I think the Jets take Darnold, and they continue to stink and be the Jets for the next decade still because it's going to be a terrible pick. I think my big trade, the Fins, the Dolphins, jump up because they're tired. Their fan base is tired of Tannehill. They're done with Tannehill.
I'm glad we added this trade aspect to it because
cannot stand Tannehill. He don't think he's the reason he can't throw very far. It's not working. I think they trade up and get Allen. I think they go get Allen and they beat out the Bills, and then the Broncos take Chubb because, like you said, I think that that defense is getting older and they just add that extra edge rusher.
Yeah, and that's the thing about the Chubb thing. People, I mean, everybody's like just kind of like penciling in Mayfield to the Broncos, in my opinion. I think if Chubb's sitting there at 5, I mean, that's a interesting decision the Broncos have to make there. I mean, he's gonna be good, and then but that's another thing. I do think the Broncos just end up going Mayfield, and I think that leaves Chubb falling right into the Colts' lap, and that's why one of the main reasons why I think they're a winner. They still get their guy, and they got more picks while doing it.
We'll see. I see.
Mayfield is a lot like Tebow, and I don't know if Denver takes that.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So if Denver doesn't pick Mayfield at 5, I don't feel like they're going to pick Chubb. I feel like with getting rid of Aqib Talib, they're more likely to pick Denzel Ward.
Interesting.
At corner.
That's another. I mean, that's the crazy thing. Like with everything that happened, Denver's gonna have a lot of choices to make at 5.
They are.
There's some guys. I mean, it's gonna be an interesting draft. I mean, you can get a guy like. I didn't even think about Ward. I mean, they lost Talib. Chris Harris isn't getting any younger. I mean, he's still Chris Harris, but I mean, this defense, is not the Denver defense anymore. So. Either they're going to have to make some decisions on and what they're going to do if they're going to rebuild this defense or if they're going to focus on offense now. It's going to be Elway has a lot of interesting decisions to make, especially with that number 5 pick.
With the quarterback free agency that we just went through, having 4 to 5 potentially starting caliber quarterbacks on the market all at once, and then 4 highly sought after quarterback prospects in the draft. This is probably going to be the most interesting free agency / draft period that I've ever lived through. So it's going to be a fun time, and I can't wait. I can't wait for the draft. It's going to be such a fun time because I guarantee what's going to happen is draft day is going to come. All 3 of us are going to be wrong, and
for sure.
And it's going to hit the fan. Teams are going to be coming up left and right. Like the Eagles are gonna fly up to number 1 and take Saquon Barkley. Like I don't know.
Well, what if Bill Belichick is playing us all and just pops up and takes one of those quarterbacks?
Bill Belichick trades his first round pick this year, a second round pick next year, and Tom Brady, and he goes up and takes Josh Allen.
Niners.
Tom Brady to Cleveland.
Tom Brady to Cleveland. All right, so we're getting towards the tail end of our show here. Without going into detail, because we're going to go into detail on our show next week with MLB opening day coming up. Emmons, who you picking to win the AL East and the NL East? Who you got?
I went back and forth in the AL East, but the Boston Red Sox just signed my boy JD Martinez, and I think that's a huge signing for them, especially with that ballpark. So the Red Sox in the East, and then the NL is I think it's kind of obvious who's going to win that division. It's the Washington Nationals.
Okay. Matthew, I tasked you with the AL West and the NL West. Who do you got, without going into detail, who do you got winning those divisions?
The Giants, And the Oakland Athletics.
Wow. Okay, I'm ready for next week's show.
The Angels.
The Angels. Okay, that's more in line with what I was thinking. So I took the AL Central.
Yeah.
I took the AL Central and the NL Central. For the AL Central, I'm going to go with the Minnesota Twins taking the AL Central title this year. And then the NL Central, I was on the fence with the Cubs. I think they're the obvious pick. I'm going to say the Milwaukee Brewers sneak up and take the NL Central title from the Cubs. And we'll get all into that more next week once we do our opening day show. So opening day starts next Thursday. So that'll be fun. Another season starting. We got NBA playoffs coming up, so we got a lot of good topics to talk about. Matthew, close us out on what's on your mind, buddy. What you got going on over there?
So, I told you I deal with numbers. I love numbers. At work, in education, all we do is numbers. I sit in front of a computer for a couple hours and look at numbers. I love numbers. They can tell a lot of stories. But what really bothers me is how in sports, us fans, and Josh, you alluded to it in a chat we were in earlier, is how quickly we jump and just get upset because somebody says a number. Okay, and we say a number and we're like, well, I have my own number. I think when we look at numbers and we look at data in sports, we have to look at the whole picture. I can take a statistic. I can find a statistic that will prove any point I want to make. I can prove that your boy is the best quarterback in the whole NFL. I could prove that. I could find some number that proves that he is better than Brady if I really wanted to. So I think when we look at numbers as in sports, I don't know, fans, fandom, analysts, we've got to start looking at things as a whole rather than this one little narrow number. And it's getting more and more like when you watch ESPN or you read it, they find some obscure stat that shows some new thing, but it's really just it's obscure. It doesn't show the whole picture. And I think, for example, if you would have looked at the whole set of numbers with UVA, a lot more of us would have been saying that UVA is in trouble this first round. Because if you looked at the whole picture of numbers, you would have seen a team that was not a number one seed. So I think just in general in all sports, especially with the analytics and everything, we've got to start looking at the whole picture instead of just one number.
The Virginia thing's really funny to me. I mean, because everybody was saying how they're like the number one team in the country, and especially once they lost their sixth man of the year, it was like I could see. I saw them going out in the second round possibly.
You and I said that. We said they're in trouble this first weekend.
So yeah, that's a good point. It's a good point. Before we close it out, I do want to say anybody who tuned in last week, thank you. Anybody who's new, thank you to you as well. We're working this out. It's definitely a lot of fun. It's going to be more organized as we go on and on, working out some kinks here with everything. So like I said, we definitely appreciate you guys starting with us from the beginning, and hopefully we grow this thing into something special. Other than that, like I said, thank you for tuning in. Our Twitter's at The Other Side Pod. The Facebook page is The Other Side Podcast. So go ahead and hit us with a follow on both of those, and we appreciate all of your guys' support.
And that's something we're going to continue to work towards every week. I'm going to work towards trying to get some kind of overlay that has our link, our Facebook and our Twitter link right here on the screen so everybody can see it. I'm going to work on getting a YouTube page up and running over the next couple days and upload these previous shows to the YouTube page. We're going to work on getting some voice only recording, and we're going to try uploading to iTunes, maybe Google Music. I'll look into uploading stuff there. So we're going to look into various places to upload this. But really, we're just doing this for fun. It's really fun to come on here and talk to these two guys for an hour and pick their brains and hear what they're trying to say and do that kind of stuff and just talk sports. Because I'm sure a lot of us don't get to do that in our daily lives. We probably don't have across a lot of people who care about sports the way that we care about sports. So it's nice to just connect with some people and talk like that. So
yeah, it's definitely a lot more fun talking to you guys for an hour than talking to people that I know personally. It's just like you're talking to, like, we're not going to get into that. We'll get into that another time. But like, we all know our fans of local teams, like that Tom Izzo thing. It's like, but yeah, it's definitely fun talking to you guys for an hour. And like you said, we're doing this for fun. Obviously, a pipe dream would be it turns into something. If not, at the end of the day, it's fun talking to you too. And I have a great time doing this. So.
All right. So we're gonna close out the show. Like Emmons said, if you joined us, thank you for joining us. I appreciate you two gentlemen for making time out of your Tuesday night to come on the show and be a part of this. So like you said,
we did have a special guest today, by the way.
We did.
Matthew over there holding them.
Yeah, we had our special guest, Brandon Lucas.
Yep. Definitely honored to have him on the show. Shout out to Lewis one more time. He's gonna love that. So
we're gonna
have a good night.
We're gonna close out the show. Thank you guys so much for watching. You can catch the VOD in the video channel. And like I said, we're gonna get it. We're gonna work on getting it uploaded to various places. So thanks again for watching. You guys have a good night. Appreciate it, and have fun watching the sports world this week.